Hello YouTube. This video is about the 13 questions you need to ask yourself before starting your next project. Let's go. I'm going to shoot something really big. So I'm going to tell you a story. I did a project, a feature film, probably when I was like 27. And I had been working for a while as a filmmaker, and I fell in love with the script. I fell in love with the idea, but I didn't really know my place in it. And what I mean by that is I didn't know really what kind of filmmaker I was, because I had never asked myself that question. I had never asked myself, who am I really, and how does this work reflect that? Because if I'm just doing an idea, if I'm just making the film, and it doesn't come from somewhere that is way more profound than my brain, then it's gonna have trouble resonating on an emotional level. Because people don't give you their time from their head, they give it to you from their heart. If you look at time as a form of currency, as a form of payment, when they spend time with you, they're paying you with something that's very valuable to them. And so if I'm asking that person to spend time with me based on kind of thoughts I have rather than coming from a place of feeling, it's going to be a much longer journey. So I had to ask myself some real questions. That film did not do well, right? Let's be honest about that. I fell in love with the idea and I didn't investigate my place in it. So these are some questions you can ask yourself and that I had to ask myself. And you need to ask yourself well before you start writing, well before you start creating stuff and getting it up on its feet. Because if you know the answers to these questions, your film tends to be kind of unstoppable. And it tends to be more of a game changer rather than just another film that kind of goes into the noise. So let's get going. Question number one. I want you to write down at least 10 words that describe you as a filmmaker right now. How do you see yourself today? The reason we want to do that is because it's almost like taking inventory from a store, right? It's almost like putting the cans up on the shelves and seeing which ones are most valuable and which ones can sell most, right? Which ones have the most market value, but also which ones really represent you the best. So write down 10 words that you think best describe you as a filmmaker today. So is it that you're curious? Is it that you're ferocious? Is it that you're exhausted? What is it? What right now describe you as a filmmaker? And be really brutally honest. So next, what words describe you as the filmmaker you want to become? And I want you to write down at least 10 of them. Don't edit yourself, don't think, just vomit them out on the page. Whatever comes to you is the best answer. If you're starting to edit, it comes from the brain, it doesn't come from the heart. And I really want you guys to start thinking about yourself as much deeper and much more profound than just a filmmaker who's trying to sell a project. Because if you can do that, you stand a better chance of selling your projects. Number 3, ask yourself, as a person, what do you value most? This is a hard question. What is that one thing that you stand for, that you value, that you treasure? The reason I ask myself that question is because if I'm creating from a place I can defend and that I truly believe in and that comes from who I really am, I can do better work. I can do work that is much more profound. It doesn't matter if it's a comedy, it doesn't matter if it's a thriller, it doesn't matter if it's a horror. There are profound moments in those genres that come from a place of deep personal connection. And that's us as artists, right? I rarely talk about us as artists. I talk about us as business people 90% of the time. But without the art part, we're nothing. And that in the business is just a given. You can't be there without it, right? But you need to know what flavor you have and where it comes from. So write down that one word that represents the thing you value most as a person. The next one's really simple. Number 4, what is most important in business for you? When you are trying to do business around the content that you create, what's the most important thing to you? Is it being respected? Is it being paid right? Is it being seen as a game changer or as a indispensable creator? It has to come from you. It can't be a version of somebody else's. Sometimes we can take those as inspiration, but we can't take them as our own because that's somebody else's. So what is yours? What is most important in business to you? And now, I know we're getting to places where it's like, we can sound a little woo-woo, but we have to ask ourselves these questions so that we can be effective in this business and distinguish ourselves from other filmmakers. What is most important in life to you? Beyond your filmmaking career, if you were to take away filmmaking, what would be the most important thing to you? What would be that thing that you knew you were on the right path, that you knew you truly believed in? What is that most important thing in life for me? And for me, it's human connection. I have been searching for that my entire life. I constantly look for it. I constantly look for how I can relate better to other people, how I can connect to them, and how they can connect with me. This is why I do what I do. But outside of filmmaking, one of the things that makes me feel great is when I'm out in traffic and somebody lets me in and I wave to them and they wave back, or I let them in and they wave to me to say thank you. That is one of those little moments of human connection with a stranger that makes me feel really good. I don't know why, but that blown up to 1,000 is really what I'm looking for in my life. I'm looking for that ability to have a very human experience. So without filmmaking, that's the thing that's most important for me. So what is it for you? So next is, what is the thing that excites you the most? We have to know this, because if we make a project that we're initially excited about, but then we start to lose that luster, we're gonna have to be doing that project for maybe a couple of years, right? Especially with a feature film or even a big web series, right? We're gonna be with that project for a while. So if we don't love and aren't very excited about the idea we're creating, if it was initially exciting and then once we dug into it, it stopped, but then we felt like we invested so much time, we might as well keep going, you're gonna get probably very used to making something that you don't really believe in. And that is a huge mistake. We have to make work that looks like the kind of work we want to be known for, because if we get good at making things that we don't like making, people are going to ask us to make more of it. And then you're stuck. Again, you know this. I have told you I was the king of the $5,000 crappy eyewear commercial for dying eyewear brands like Foster Grant and all of that, right? I got so good at that, and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand that I was sitting there talking about the tensile strength of graphite for weeks on end. That was not anything that moved me, but I got really good at it, and so they asked me to make 20, 30, 40 more. I finally had to walk away from that. So be sure you understand that what you make excites you, and know exactly what it is that excites you about it. Okay, this isn't so much a question as I want you to state something here and repeat this. I am, and then fill in the blank. This is a hard one. I am is literally the state of our being, how we believe we really are in the present moment. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I think you'll get it once you ask yourself. So repeat this. I am, and then fill in the blank. Why are you here in this career? Ask yourself why you're here. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it in the way you're doing it? I have to ask myself the why all the time, because the how and the what, I know how to point cameras at stuff. I know how to work with crews, and I know about contracts, and I know about studio work, and I know about how to deal with distributors, but that's not why I'm here. That's just the how and the what. The why is way more profound. Quick story, if you look at how Apple describes themselves, or described themselves back in '84, IBM was the king of computing, and there weren't many personal computers, but they basically said, we make computers that help you with business. That was IBM, and that's pretty snoozy. And then along comes Apple, who says, we want to disrupt the status quo because we believe in creativity. We happen to make computers. Now, which one would you rather buy? They understood their why. They wanted to disrupt everything in the way that we thought about computing. And now we can't do without them. So why are you here? Really answer that question. This next one comes into the business part of things. You know, how is it that you get results for somebody who would not only buy your content, but who would watch your content? Your content needs to solve a problem. Probably, if you've watched this channel at all, you've heard me talk about the idea of having your content solve a problem. If we look at the Facebook babies and puppies genre, which is all over Facebook, right? Babies, kittens, puppies. It's the most watched genre in the world. And people do it to soothe themselves. So it solves a problem. What are they soothing themselves from? They're soothing themselves from a crappy job, or a partner that doesn't understand them, right? Or a life that doesn't look like the one that they always saw for themselves. So for those 10 minutes while they're looking at bowls of cuteness, they're able to remove themselves from all of that, which causes a bit of suffering in their life, right? If not a lot of suffering. So ask yourself, what results people get by watching your content? Next, this is a good one. This is one I love. What's your superhero power? And for me, mine was always the things that I overcame, the negative stuff, the stuff that I turned into something better and bettered myself. So what is that thing in your life that maybe you overcame, that situation you overcame, that can potentially, if not isn't already, your superhero power? And know it and say it and be okay. I know it's goofy, I get it, but just know it and be able to write that down. This is a pretty profound one, I think, is why does this particular film need to exist? Why does this need to be the thing that you're going to spend a year, maybe 2 years of your life on? And I'm not going to go much deeper than that. I want you to come at that question with your own answer. I don't want to guide you and give you an example of how I see it. I want you guys to come at it in a way that makes sense for you personally. But why does this film need to exist? Why does this web series need to exist? This one comes from a really personal place for me. Ask yourself, as a person who happens to be a filmmaker, what does your heart want? Is there a hole there that needs filling that maybe we thought that external adulation could fill? So what is it really that our heart wants while doing this profound kind of work that we do, which is mysterious to a lot of other people? It seems sexy and awesome, but we know how hard it is, and we feel pain from it. And we feel pain because, I don't know, maybe some people feel like the story they told themselves doesn't match up with the reality of their life. So ask yourself that question. What does your heart want? And again, I know this may sound woo-woo, but for me, this is where I go. What I do is deeply emotional to me. I know I talk about the business stuff all the time, but when I think about why I do this, maybe one day I'll tell you what my heart wants. It gets me a little emotional. So answer that question. And finally, about the very next project you're going to start. What is it that inspires you about that particular project? We hear that, what inspires you as a filmmaker? And it always seems so trite. But if we can answer that question, we can maintain that inspiration throughout the process. In the end, after asking yourself these 13 questions and taking the time to write this down for yourself, you're going to kind of have a little miniature owner's manual of your next film. And then you're going to have something to base how you're approaching the work on it. Does what you're making match up to this document, this owner's manual for your creative life? Does it match up? And then I think you'll find that you have a roadmap to get yourself through it. So I hope this has helped. Don't forget to smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button so you're notified of upcoming videos. And I can't wait to see you in the next one, and I'm talking to you.